to the Eating at a Meeting podcast. I'm your host, Tracy Stuckrath, dietary needs expert, certified meetings manager, certified food protection manager. I have searched the globe to find people and businesses who are creating safe, sustainable, and inclusive food and beverage experiences for their employees, guests, and communities. In each episode, you will find authentic conversations about how food and beverage impacts inclusion, sustainability, culture, community, health, and wellness. I know that sounds like a lot, but we're going to cover it all. Are you ready to feed engagement, nourish inclusion, and bolster your bottom line? If so, let's go. I am actually here on the last day of IMEX 2022, and so I'm sitting in this Visit Scotland booth with these two wonderful people, Stephanie Beatie and Rory Archibald. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves so that you know who they are, and then we're going to get down and dirty and talk about food and beverage and sustainability. So have at it, Steph.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Stephanie. I'm the head of corporate sales at the Scottish Event Campus. We are the convention centre in Glasgow.
And hi, everyone. I'm Rory Archibald. I look after Association and Sec, business events team at Visit Scotland.
Awesome. So I was talking to you all the other day about, I told you I was at Fringe Festival a couple of years ago, and Fringe Festival is this awesome arts festival in Edinburgh. And I actually was there to speak for Sight Scotland about dietary restrictions, sustainability, and what all that means. And there's a law in the EU that requires food allergen labeling. And the only person in the room that knew about it was the caterer. And she actually got quite emotional about the fact that none of the planners in the room knew anything about it and how that impacts her business and her job. So, Stephanie, I brought that up to you the other day. And so talk about what the event center does to help manage that and what impact does it. And it also, since that time, Natasha's law has come into play, which even emphasizes even more of what your responsibility is.
Yeah, absolutely. So food, let's be honest, a huge part of meetings and events, such an important part. So making it inclusive, making it safe, and making it sustainable is super important to us at the SEC. So we, of course, follow all of the guidelines and regulations, and Natasha's law is something that we take super seriously as well. So making sure that packaged food is labelled correctly so that people can make informed decisions. And then when we're offering a kind of buffet style or bowl food option, which is created on site, that we have allergen information available. So we do that now through a QR code, so people can scan QR codes, whether it's on the waiter's tray or at the station.
The waiter's tray. Wow.
Yeah. So that people can then just have a look to see exactly what's in there and for themselves make their own informed decisions. Is this something for me? Is it not? And at SEC as well, we also have an allergen champion at every event. So it's a station that people can go up to the allergen champion who's fully briefed on the menu, fully briefed on the menu, and then provide a lot more if you kind of export, making sure you are avoiding things that you should, and also just finding out about what goes into our food at the menu.
And so on an allergen, but can that person also answer questions about vegan and vegetarian?
Absolutely, all of that. So everything that you're eating, if you want to ask a question about the menu and what's going into it, then we can answer those questions as well.
Okay, I call that person, and I get hired as a culinary concierge.
Oh.
So I love that you have that. It's a very important role because not all the servers know what they're serving, right? And their job is to serve, right? And we want to make sure that they've got somebody to rely on too.
Absolutely. And I think something like Natasha's law, knowing the background of that story and how that evolved, it's even more important.
Right.
So we take it really seriously.
Yeah, that's good. And just a little bit of background for people. So the first law was the EU 1169, which required all unpackaged food to be labeled when it was presented to a consumer or information to be there. So even if you went into a Quick Trip gas station, that hot dog had to have the allergen labeling on it. But it makes that really important for, events. And then Natasha is a young lady who unfortunately ate a sandwich at the airport, which was not labeled correctly, and she died on an airplane. And 1969. So Natasha's parents fixed that law. And now there's this new Natasha's law, which is actually just
Right, just in the UK, Scotland, and Ireland, right? Or Wales, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's not the whole EU, it's just the island, right? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so Rory, tell us about what you do, and I want to talk about sustainability. Why I want to talk about what you guys do at sustainability, but tell us more about what you do.
So Visit Scotland, we don't run events like the SEC, so we actually take a lot of our learnings from our stakeholders and our partners. And New Glasgow is very much one of the leaders in Scotland and all of the moment. So our job is to signpost, to educate, and to help do the right thing. So what we're talking about here is also DEI and making sure that we are pushing inclusivity into our country and into every single event. Everyone feels welcome, everyone feels safe, and that sometimes that can be missing part of some of the conversations that happen within diversity, equity, and inclusion conversations. So from a sustainability point, we absolutely work with Scottish Government, who fund organisations like Scotland Food and Drink, which is an innovation centre in Scotland who really are driving forward to try and create a sustainable ecosystem with how we grow food, how we raise food in Scotland, so it is as sustainable as possible for the environment. And we've got some incredible pioneering organisations such as Intelligent Growth Solutions.
Intelligent what?
Intelligent Growth Solutions.
Okay.
And they are pioneering in Scotland and the United Kingdom vertical farm systems, which produce a fraction of the carbon emissions of actual traditional farming, and could completely transform and be the solution for poverty within the entire world. Because this could be taken to the remotest parts of the world, the driest parts of the world, because it requires a fraction of the water, a fraction of the electricity, a fraction of the power, and it grows a lot faster within it. So that's been pioneered right in Scotland.
Wow.
And it's something that the Scottish Government are really passionate to get behind. We have some fantastic produce in our country, so we need to protect that. We need to ensure that we're doing this sustainably, that's not harming the environment, it's actually doing positive things in the environment. It's not just about being next, it's about giving back. And so our job at Visit Scotland is to bring all of our partners together as much as possible. It's not a competition. We all need to be at the same level in our food standards. We need to be at the same level in advocacy when we're looking at everything you've just been talking about. Everybody has to be at the same level, and it's my job and my team's job to advocate that, champion it for it within the Scottish industry.
Okay, so I want to ask, do you know Fiona Richmond?
Yes.
She and I are part of La Dames de Escoffier.
Oh, okay.
And and
say that with a whiskey.
No, I can't do that. So I had lunch with her when I was in Edinburgh. So I'm so excited. Yes. Somebody's going to have fun when we're leaving. Okay, so how do you help planners, meeting planners, event planners who bring events to Scotland, both of you? How do you help them be more sustainable in their practices? Because in a couple of sessions here this week, a lot of them, we found out that planners aren't even putting this information in their request for proposals. And so then they're not doing anything. So as a venue and as a destination, how can you help planners understand what they can do to be more sustainable, and maybe what your efforts already do to help them be that way?
So firstly, I can go into something that I think everyone should do. We hosted the UN Climate Change Conference, COP26, in November 21, and that is a catalyst for us on our sustainability journey. We've been doing it at the ACC for a while, but that really was a big pivotal moment for us in our kind of initiatives. And at COP, it was the first time that the events industry had representation. And the ACC are one of the founding partners alongside GMIC, UFI, ICA and AIPC. And we there's a net zero carbon events initiative. So I would prompt everyone to sign up to that pledge. And you can go on the website, pledge, and basically it's addressing the tension between events and sustainability. And it's so important that we all play a role there. So it's everything from venues, organisers, planners, suppliers, exhibitors, everyone can get involved. And basically it's to say that by 2050 your business will be net zero, and by 2030 that you're going to cut your carbon emissions in half.
Wow.
So COP27, there's going to be a roadmap launched, so definitely stay tuned for some further updates there. But really important, I think, for us to hold ourselves accountable, and just for our suppliers, organisers to all be together, learning best practice and kind of putting our stamp on to say we're walking the walk, we want to do it. So that's important. But at the ACC we launched in 2021 a sustainable food strategy. And really that's key to organisers. So we put in place some with Levy UK, who are caterers,
Yep.
Initiative which basically starts from picking menus, using local
Mhm.
produce, how we can reduce air freight. So we're working at the moment at 95%. Everything is coming in by rail or road. Only 5% comes in through air freight.
Okay, never thought about that. That's huge.
Yeah, super
Wow.
important.
Okay.
And pledging to use 80% local produce, Scottish produce minimum.
Okay.
Plant forward menus as well. So we're looking at 50% plant forward menus. So
Okay.
not changing too much in terms of just turning completely vegetarian or vegan. It's kind of best of both worlds.
Right.
And also having 100% reusable or recyclable plastic by 2023. Reducing kitchen waste.
That's in 3 months.
Yeah. We're
That's
there.
in 3
We're
months.
working. We're working super hard.
Okay.
And generating less than 1% food waste by 2025. So everything
So generating only 1% of food waste.
less than 1%.
Less than 1% of food waste by 2025.
Yeah.
That's huge.
So less than 1% will go to anaerobic digestion, and everything else.
So tell everybody what that means.
So that's basically what we can recycle or put
Okay.
into compost.
Okay.
That's our waste. So we're trying to shrink that as much as possible.
Okay.
And use initiatives with no single-use plastic on campus, promoting bringing your own water bottle and fountains and really everything through the whole meeting. How can we support you as an organiser to help meet your goals?
Okay.
As a venue, the SEC are also working towards a super ambitious target of being net zero by 2030. Glasgow as a city are looking to do that also, so that's pretty good. And as part of that, there's 5 key pillars that we're looking at to help achieve. So it's climate, governance, partnership, people, and resource.
Okay.
And really the kind of turning point on that is going to be a multifaceted renewable energy strategy for the venue. So not offsetting, that's all part of it, but really the key is going to be coming off gas and looking at how as a business, currently 100% of our energy is from renewable sources or electricity. And we're looking to transform how we do that throughout the whole campus. So
Wow.
there's loads happening.
There's so much involved in it, and you can't do it all at one time. You have to, and I'm glad that you've got goals that are 2023, 2025, 2030, because you can't just go snap your fingers and be done, or like Tabitha in, you guys are from the States. Did you ever watch Bewitched?
Oh,
Yes. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Wiggle her nose and it's changed. Wouldn't that be nice? Right?
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay. So, Rory, tell us about, as a destination, how do you help planners, understand this and want to choose Scotland to come to because you've got these properties or these initiatives?
It's interesting you said that this is not on the top priority list for some RIPs that come in, because it's something that our industry has been talking about. We operate on a philosophy that what works for the resident works for the visitor, and we have to put community at the very heart of this. We exist to support the residents of Scotland as much as possible, so therefore everything we do has to benefit the residents of Scotland, making the communities more prosperous, creating jobs, and creating social transformation when events come in. If we have big association medical conferences coming in, we want those guys to go out of the conference room and engage with students, engage with local communities, and create that kind of transformation. So we very much are there to, if it's not on that agenda list, to help educate why it should be on that agenda list, and give options and give suggestions that will make that event as sustainable as possible, but also have that transformation element for society, for positive societal change. So we work with a lot of third sector organisations within Scotland, and my favourite one to talk about is Invisible Cities. So
say that again.
Excuse me, Invisible Cities.
Invisible Cities, okay.
So if a group comes and asks for a tour guide, then we'll say there's a fantastic array, but have you thought of this one, which is a not-for-profit social enterprise, and they train people who've experienced homelessness in Scotland to become
I'm going to cry. That's awesome.
Yeah. And it helps them find accommodation, a bank account, and then it provides them with a full-time job.
Wow.
And just a few months ago, we had a corporate organisation come in they were looking for a tour guide. We suggested this to them. They booked 91 tours over the course of a week with Invisible Cities, and that directly led them to being able to employ more people who experience homelessness.
That's amazing.
And when you're talking about having a structure, not doing everything at once,
right?
It's the small decisions and choices that we can make when you come to Scotland that can make a massive difference, a huge difference. We don't have to. We look at it as a huge, scary climate change, sustainability, DEI.
Right.
That's terrifying. But break it down into every element of the event. What can I do in the conference room? What can I do for the coffee break? What can I do for the lunch? And break it down into these manageable chunks.
Right.
We are very much about having events that come in that benefit our society. But also that the delegates will then come and hopefully take something away that's from Scotland that they can then go and take into their own societies at their next event. We focus very heavily on DEI as well, because climate change, sustainability, and DEI are completely interlinked. This is why we
United
Nations Sustainable Development Goals. We incorporate that within our strategies, our marketing campaigns. There we go.
Yep, there we go.
Maybe we have a destination presentation, which I'm sure Stephanie is sick of hearing my voice, but it's in every single one. And when we do our own events, we provide only vegetarian or vegan meals. We structure the event to align with as many of the UN SDGs as we physically can do.
Okay.
We work in partnership with the likes of PCMA, ICA, MPI, SITE, just to name but a few, because this is not competition. We all need to be sharing what we're doing. Mm-hmm. We need to be sharing best practices. We need to be sharing our failures so that we can all learn. Because if, say, Scotland just becomes the most sustainable nation on the planet, it means absolutely nothing if every other destination is not the most sustainable destination.
So true.
So we're trying to be as open about what we do. We're trying to learn from others. If we come up with a good idea, we're trying to share that as much as possible, because this is about making sure that we leave this planet with better for the next generation who have the same, if not better, opportunities than what we have.
Oh, I love that. That's so cool. And I was listening. Did you all? You probably didn't leave the booth ever this week, but yesterday I just happened upon a session with the New York Times travel writer and two other men. They were all gay men. Two of them were Jewish, so it was really interesting to listen to them. But they were talking about travel. And what does it mean to travel? And in an essence, what we're doing here at this event is business meetings. We go into your venue. We don't ever see anything. But it's like they gave some examples of just not doing the normal agenda, but getting to know where you are, right? And I told this one story that a couple of years ago, I went to the Philippines and to speak, and I wanted to go somewhere, and there's 2,700 islands in the Philippines. And I'm like, what do you do? Right. So I looked in this Rick Steves travel guide, and there was one little tiny gray box that said there's this organic farm in Baguio. And I had said I didn't want to go to Baguio because I'd been there in high school. But I started to cry because I'm like, oh my God, this means where I'm supposed to be. I took a 3-hour bus ride up there. I didn't have a hotel room. I walked into this one that was recommended. They we have it. It's $5 more for the honeymoon suite because that's all we have available. I'm like, great. I called the farmer to say I had arrived. She's like, my boyfriend will be here in 30 minutes to pick you up, and drove me to their house. And then they drove me to this farm, which is off-road, and it was in the mountains. And I ate fern, like the plant fern, for dinner for 2 nights. And I mean, and that's the kind of experiences that you want, but doing it in a sustainable way, right? And it's not just about going and sitting in a ballroom, although you have them. Yeah.
And just with a little bit of direction and education, that could be from the destination, that could also be from the planner. You can create these experiences. And one of my favorite ones to talk about is the 2018 World Down Syndrome Congress in Glasgow.
The Down Syndrome Congress?
Yes.
Okay.
And the Glasgow Convention Bureau went out and partnered with various different organisations and created educational workshops for hoteliers, retailers, hospitality professionals, taxi drivers, shops, anything else. Because this conference was it wasn't just about practitioners or about academics coming. They wanted to hear from people who had Down syndrome. So the city wanted to make sure that it was going to be as welcoming as possible for all of these delegates coming in. And I thought that was such a fantastic legacy
That is
and a
awesome.
way to create so much positive transformation from one event that was completely outside of the conference room. And these delegates had the time of their lives because everybody was aware how to make sure to make them feel as welcome as possible.
Right, exactly. Because you never know how somebody's going to greet somebody. And I actually was on my podcast earlier today recording live, and it's okay to ask a question. Don't assume and don't do something for somebody automatically, but asking the questions, but not being afraid to ask the question. It really does come down to that.
One of those things is, with the whole sustainability and with GEI, we are going to make mistakes.
Right.
Nobody's perfect and nobody knows absolutely everything about everything.
Right.
And it's being prepared to make those mistakes, but ensure that we put processes in place to learn from them and to make sure that we don't do it again and share that mistake with everybody else.
Right,
so that we all come up that one step higher on what we're doing.
Right, exactly. All right. I had a question for you and it went away. Tell me more about your venue and what you were doing. Do you have any other fantastic ideas about your venue that we need to know?
Well, so we've just recently hosted the World Congress on Soil Science.
Okay.
And it was a really nice link actually with the kind of the food crisis and how global warming is affecting our soil and food production. So it was, although food is probably not the first link you would think to soil science, it was really important for that planner to the SEC, and their, they said how can we work together, and it was a really, really lovely collaborative experience working with the planner and our catering team to say, right, what can we do? So we for all of our main carbon label our food. So you can see exactly the footprint, the carbon footprint and the impact on the environment. So we're giving that information to organisers and to delegates to make informed decisions and giving it back to them. Right. So I think there's a lot of things that organisers can do to make a kind of start there on the carbon kind of offsetting scale, things like a meat-free Monday. So instead of having everything vegan, everything vegetarian, not everyone's ready to go there yet.
Right.
And let's be honest, delegates are delegates, and their lunch is important. And it's, we aim to please. So it's kind of fine round of giving opportunity and kind of letting them make their own decisions. So a meat-free Monday is a great option, or one day of the week. Things like using plant-forward menus, so like a 50-50 burger, for example, is still a burger meat, but that base protein in there, much more vegetables. So you're still kind of, it's just that happy medium, and working with an organizer who's super keen to make a change. Right. Makes it really easy for us, and we can try different things. Right. And we use that as a bit of a footprint to say, right, well, this is what soil science did, so how do you want to run your meeting? Every day as well, we measured our food waste. So, and then the next day we put it on all the screens and shared it with the delegates. So everyone was contributing to making that change for that event. Maybe they'll make them eat everything that's on their plate. You pile up all that food on that plate and you don't eat it all. But even that, it's actually a perfect point, because it was things like working with our catering team, and we did both it. So instead of having a big plate and loading it up and having waste, it was smaller portions. You can have more if you want it, but it was measurable, it was handy, you could have a little taste of different things. And then of course it's being creative with how we choose our menu. So working with the catering team to use local produce, seasonal produce, using all of the vegetables, so using the carrot skins as a garnish. It's just different things. And I think if you're open to learning about doing that, speak to your venue, speak to your PCO, your convention bureau. People have got creative ideas of how we can all make a change. And I think it's also important, and it's not just the people at the top, it's the people at the bottom who are like, hey, because I said the other day, I'm like, go talk to the engineer, because that gives them value in their job, to ask them questions. What do you do in your job? Do you have any suggestions on how we can be more sustainable with our lighting or, whatever, right? And I think it gives everybody more empowerment across the board. And that's part of that people thing. Absolutely. Yeah. You okay?
So sorry. Take a little break there for a coffee fit.
Well, you could have some wine and a beer. That's very sneak to me too.
Yeah. And now is that Scottish wine and Scottish beer up there?
Unfortunately, wine is not one thing we produce. That contributes to our 5% air freight.
Yes.
But you have beer
and whiskey.
We're the home of whiskey. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I have to find, my brother just came back from either Scotland or Ireland playing golf. I need to check and see where they were. It was one of those trips that was booked for 2020 and got pushed back. Yeah. It was for his 50th birthday. So, and it happened when he was 52. Okay. So I think what you guys are doing is fantastic because it's so important for us to all take the efforts to do it. And when you have a great partner. So my next question then is, when you're talking to a planner and they don't have it in their RFP, are you automatically, because I'm so tired of an RFP comes back with just the heads and beds information, right? And then that's not it. Are you automatically putting it in and saying, this is what we're doing, to entice them? Or if they have it in their RFP, are they even enticed by the information putting it in? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely seen the number of RFPs with sustainability information in there increase.
Okay.
So I think people are coming to venues and asking for that type of support because that's what they want to do as an organisation, or that's what their delegates are looking for. So I think that's there, and if it's not, then we always include it because I feel like it's adding value to the meeting.
Right.
It's part of that partnership approach. It's how can we make you look good? How can we make this meeting the absolute best it possibly can be? How can we leave a legacy? And then kind of addressing the hope that, as I mentioned earlier, the sort of tension between travel and events and sustainability. We've all got a role to play in keeping the planet going, keeping events going, and they need to work hand in hand. So I think it's really important. And we've not seen anyone see the sustainability information and say no. Everyone sees it as a positive, and it might just be that they've not thought about it yet. Right. And we've got a toolkit that people can use and a platform can use to start in that first step, and it's there to choose. It's not an absolute you have to do all these things. It might just be the small changes that
Absolutely. And talking to people this week in IMEX who haven't mentioned sustainability or legacy or social impact, and they're giving us information about what their event is, the minute I've started talking about it, the eyes light up and it gives them new ideas and it makes them think slightly differently. So I think everyone's very open to this, but some people need more direction, more help than others. And that's what we're here for.
That's awesome.
To try and make this as easy as possible for everybody, and to together and think up new ideas and how to make this better. And we just need to start that discussion.
And I think telling those stories about what you've done and other things, that it's like that shower thing. You're taking a shower and you think of this bright idea, right? And just using those examples, or saying, hey, that really didn't work for this group and this is why. Can we do some, this, but this did, right? If they say so.
Absolutely. Yeah. And sometimes it just needs a little bit of a spark or that one little conversation, and then all of a sudden somebody has then completely rethought their entire event to focus on sustainability, DEI, climate action, and it's about being open, having a discussion, and suggesting. And as I said earlier, for Scotland, it's what works for the visitor, what works for the resident, works for the visitor.
Right.
And so we always keep that in mind all the time, is that the events coming in cannot have a negative impact on our communities. They have to be positive.
Well, and it kind of reminds my small town. I live in a town of Kessler Collection. Kessler Hotels is opening up a new property in our town, and I'm probably going to get in trouble for saying this, but they wanted another piece of property, and so we're like, no. We don't want to become one of those tourist cities. And I fault my town for not educating the residents on, hey, and actually our executive director of the Tourism Development Authority, Melissa Riggle, is actually doing a really good job now. She got an article in the paper saying for every dollar a tourist spends, the residents' taxes go down, right, by a certain amount. So it's like, because the three of us, we're not eating out every single night. We're not going to the bowling alley every night. I don't know where that came from, but but we're not doing those things. And so we need the tourism and we need the business events to come to town so that we can support the residents. Yeah. And so it does need to be a symbiotic relationship.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's an educational point for myself as a DMO that we need to do a better job at telling that story, not just to the international visitor or the business events. We need to be telling that to our residents.
Right.
To say this is actually the benefits that come out of this. And it's not just about money, it's also about the academic impact it can have, the knowledge share it can have, the social transformation part it can have. I think DMOs around the world need to get better at that.
Right.
But there are some places in the States that have been completely removed from a CVB's positioning because they don't want it. And you know what? If that's what the visitor truly wants, then there's an element of we have to respect that.
Right.
But we need to make sure that we're still telling that story and what the positives are.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Because and yeah, maybe you're going to be a little bit more crowded for a day or whatever it is. We're not going to get that. I mean, you have small towns, so you know that, right? But it adds to the benefit because I'm like, this hotel could actually bring in a lot more, money to help our seawall, that is at river level, right? So we don't get flooded. But okay, so two final questions. One, have you because I sent the question to you in advance. I'm like, have you seen something negative that impacted the food and beverage experience? But I want to turn it around and just kind of flip it a little bit. Something negative that you saw that you did sustainability wise that's now a positive. Does that make sense?
You mean like a initiative that we had that wasn't received well? Or?
Yes. And sorry.
No, not at all. I did have to think about this and there's not really been a negative experience as such, but touching on what I spoke about earlier, I think there's definitely a need for more education around the importance of sustainability and sustainable food in particular. And going back to the point about being completely vegetarian or completely vegan, delegates have all got different needs, requirements, tastes. So I think sometimes organisers come in with great ideas. We're going to take all of this away and we're going to make it completely vegan, make it completely vegetarian, which is amazing, and we would absolutely support organisers, and delegates perhaps are just not there yet, or a percentage of delegates. So it's kind of trying to softly educate, and let people experience new things, but as a venue being able to kind of offer choice. I think it's got to be down to choice. So I would say in terms of negative, it's just maybe some people aren't quite there. They're maybe not ready yet for the big change. And I think we just, it's a slow process, but I think we just keep kind of striving forward.
Because you also, when you go from one extreme to the other, then you're actually excluding the other. Right. And so it has to be, again, I'm using that word symbiotic. How can you do it all together so that everybody feels inclusive? So.
Yeah, I think I don't think it's necessarily something that Business Scotland's done. We are so cautious and so conscious that our marketing is saying this, and we really need to make sure that we're following through with that.
Right.
And that's a learning thing every single day. We are saying that we are creating positive transformation, we're a sustainable destination. We need to be making sure that we're aware of things that are maybe happening in the country that go against the messaging that we're saying, and put into place a strategy to try and correct it as much as possible. So if there is a hotel or a venue which isn't really practicing the sustainability element, what do we need to do to implement to try and convince them to come on the path that we're currently on? So that the last thing we want to be doing is event pushing. Just saying that we're doing this, we're not actually following through.
100% true. And the travel writer mentioned something about that the other day too. It's like you want to make sure that you've got the buy-in and make it their buy-in, right? Make it a positive so they understand why they're doing it. All right. So my last question is, what does a safe, sustainable, and inclusive food and beverage experience mean to you?
I think encompassing everything we talked about. I think it's food's so important. It needs to be tasty, it needs to be healthy, and more important than ever, it needs to be sustainable for environment. So I think it's just absolutely that, practicing what we preach, being creative, educating, trying new things, and new technologies, new products. How can we all work together as an industry to make it exciting? Right. But probably not easy to answer in one quick.
I know.
It's making sure that climate action and DEI is at the very heart of food at every single part of the process, from the very beginning when it's been grown or when it's been raised, right through to delivery onto that plate in a hotel or a conference venue. That sustainability DEI has been part of every single element of that journey, because we have some of the best produce in the entire world. Our smoked salmon is shipped all over the world. People come from all over to experience our seafood. we want to make sure we can continue to do that and continue to have that thrive that in a way that is positive for the planet.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So tell everybody again who you work for or what you do.
I'm Stephanie, and from the Scottish Event Campus in Glasgow.
And I'm Rory, and I'm from Business Scotland, and I also cough a lot apparently on podcasts.
That's okay. It happens. It's out and actually join the Facebook group. On it's just Eating at a Meeting, and we talk about food and beverage all the time. So until next time, stay safe and eat well. Thanks, and thank you both.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for listening to the Eating at a Meeting podcast, where every meal matters. I'm Tracy Stuckrath, your food and beverage inclusion expert. Call me and let's get started right now on creating safe and inclusive food and beverage experiences for your customers, your employees, and your communities. Share the podcast with your friends and colleagues at our Eating at a Meeting Facebook page and on all podcast platforms. To learn more about me and receive valuable information, go to tracystuckrath.com. And if you'd like more information on how to feed engagement, nourish inclusion, and bolster your bottom line, then visit eatingatameeting.com.